Thank you again, Rob, Saji, and Abhi, for such a great presentation on enabling applications at the Universal Edge. Next up, I want to welcome all of our outstanding investor judges who will be participating as part of our Edge Startup of the Year final pitch off. We had thousands of companies apply to this competition from around the world, and we narrowed it down to the 10 finalists. And today here at Edge Computing World 2020 Day 2, we are going to go through each and every one of these companies. They'll have the chance to pitch our investor panel, who I'll introduce in just a moment. They'll have 3 minutes to pitch and a minute or two for Q&A. Each of these startups will be available in the networking portion of SwapCard, so feel free to connect with them in there for one-on-one additional follow-ups, other questions and comments that you may have, and also if you'd like to continue the conversation with them. And to each of our judges, thank you so much for participating and dedicating your time today here at Edge Computing World 2020. Thank you, Elena of Untitled Capital, Ben of NEA, Todd, Pathfinder Ventures, Andrew of Walden International, Emric of HCVC, and last but not least, Gordon of Radian Tech Ventures. With that, John, welcome to the stage. You are our first presentation. You've got 3 minutes on the clock.
All right, 3 minutes on the clock. Thanks very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm going to introduce you today to the Infinite Edge. The Infinite Edge is a platform that is developed by EdgeX. Quick overview for you. Most of us think about IoT and Edge today in the context of three kind of discrete silos. You might think about the hyperscale data centers and how Amazon or Google or Microsoft will describe the Edge as being centered around their 200 plus data centers around the world. You may have heard lots about the Edge from telcos and wireless providers, and they'll talk about things like the near Edge and how the center of the universe is around 5G. You also might have heard a lot about industrial Internet of Things and how the Edge is really happening on the factory floor. The reality is that none of these discrete silos are expressly wrong or incorrect or inaccurate. They're all right. They're all correct. But the problem is that they operate in discrete silos. So what we did at EdgeX is we built a programmable peer-to-peer edge that we call EDJNET that stitches together all the heterogeneous compute sources that are at each individual layer of the network architecture. Now that's kind of interesting into itself, but on top of that, what you have to build is a platform that is useful for developers. So the EdgeX platform delivers a suite of cloud services that are distributed, what we call the distributed edge cloud, where you can use serverless functions as a service, distributed object storage, achieve ultra-low latency CDN and DNS, as well as secure data encode cryptographically. This is all extremely important and extremely relevant for developers as we move forward in the world of IoT. But what we're also extremely excited about at EdgeX is the underlying business model behind our company. So underneath the waterline of our platform, what you'll find is a system that is doing all of the real-time metering integrated in payment and settlement to ultimately decentralize the EdgeNet itself, the heterogeneous network of computers, so that all participants in the EdgeNet system share in the upside and the potential behind a decentralized and distributed edge platform. And so from an EdgeX standpoint, what that means as a startup is that we have a considerable number of advantages over everybody else. We have an extremely low cost to operate. We have infinite scalability to deliver edge services everywhere at a planet scale. And because we're an open system, we don't lock anybody into one system or another. At the end of the day, what EdgeX is about is the community being the cloud as opposed to one central vendor. That's my pitch. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, John, for that. Next up, or excuse me, we have a few questions for you. So let's go ahead and welcome Andrew up for our first questions and answers.
So John, you know, it sounds like you're dealing with a whole bunch of heterogeneous, points. What is it about your platform that can work across, vastly different types of equipment, different networks, and people have problems, working on their own network, let alone lots and lots of other people's networks?
Yeah, the network, that's a great question, Andy. The network is fully managed. So there are specifications for participating on the network itself, but the ownership and the operation specifically of the infrastructure is decentralized. And since EDJNET is ultimately a peer-to-peer mesh of computers. We're not ultimately relying on one system, one centralized model that ultimately can fail, that can break down. If one node goes offline, it doesn't affect the rest of the network. In reality, what we did is we built a content address network that works very much like the internet, but for computers.
And how many points of presence do you have, John?
So we are actually launching with Edge Computing World this week with over 40 points of presence. But considering the vast interest that that's been expressed over the last year as we've developed EdgeX and Alpha, what we envision is not hundreds of locations that making up an edge computing network like this, but thousands, in fact, tens of thousands. And it spans not just core data centers and telcos, but also the far edge. You're going to see EdgeX in things like traffic cabinets, light poles, commercial real estate wiring cabinets, weird locations that you don't traditionally think about data center hardware, like natural gas wells and oil rigs and mining operations, et cetera, et cetera. So we see the edge ultimately forming around tens of thousands of sites as we get going here with EdgeX.
Got it. Thanks.
Wonderful. Well, John, thank you very much. And judges, thank you for the comments and feedback. As we move to our next speaker, we want to welcome Doug. Doug, are you
hear
there?
me?
All right.
All
Loud and
right.
clear. Doug,
Miracle.
there you go.
This-
Well, welcome. 2020 virtual conferences. Here you are. You're loud and clear. We've got you on the mic. You're going to have, just as everyone else, you have 3 minutes to present. I will cut you off at 3 minutes. I've got a timer to monitor, and then we'll have 1 or 2 minutes to get Q&A from the judges. Are you ready?
Excellent.
Awesome. Doug, the time is yours.
All right, great. Hey, everybody, how are you? Just real quick, we're Edge Presence. We build micro data centers, and we're deploying those in tier 3 and tier 4 markets to bring connectivity and more less latency. Bringing actual more carriers. We connect back to the carrier hotel that's the closest to that market. So the hospitals, schools, local businesses, cloud providers can have large access, cheaper bandwidth, and more storage capabilities. We started Edge Presence basically building these micro data centers across the world. Also with medical and technology pods, we put in Haiti, Zimbabwe, Afghanistan, we build them all over the world. And now our primary focus is in the US, basically going to towers. We're deploying these at towers in these markets so we can, like I said before, bring better bandwidth and more connectivity to those areas. So we're really building small data centers in these markets that couldn't justify a $12 or $15 million facility. So now, as prime example, we just dropped one in Statesboro, Georgia, small town. Now, Statesboro, Georgia, the college there, the universities, the hospitals, they all are like they're in Atlanta, like downtown Atlanta. They get the benefits of having now 26 carriers they can choose from in that local market. So that's really the main product that we're pushing out in the market right now.
Wonderful. Thank you, Doug. And Alana, pardon me, want to come to you for the first question and feedback to Doug.
Doug, one question I have is from the margin perspective. What kind of, how do you lock in the supply, and what kind of margin are you looking at for the offering?
The type of margin that we're looking at, our actual product, what the margin is on our product, around 50%. So really our key drivers on the product are power, ping, and space. We are basically a data center, a carrier neutral data center. So we make our money on the actual space, the actual bandwidth, and then connectivity.
How do you charge from business model perspective? Is it subscription? Is it license, or just from the business model perspective?
Yes, it's a monthly recurring.
Awesome, thank you. Todd, I see you have a question as well for Doug. I'll turn it to you.
Yeah, Doug, so you mentioned that you bring bandwidth and connectivity to these places. I assume these are the containers that the literal shipping containers you're installing at the towers on site. How do you bring better bandwidth and connectivity when you're just supplying what I think is local compute resources?
So basically what we're doing, we take dark fiber back from our shelter, say let's use Statesboro. We carry it all the way back to the closest carrier hotel, which is Jacksonville, 421 West Church. So now that we go into that meet me room, and we take a cabinet down.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have access to all those carriers. So prime example, like the hospital there, they have Hargray as their local provider to get bandwidth from them.
Okay.
Their bandwidth is very expensive. Now they co-locate with us in the actual shelter, and they get Cogent.
Yeah.
So they have Cogent, they have Hurricane Electric, they have more access to more providers, and that brings the price down for them.
Understood. Okay. Thanks.
And they have a redundant route now also.
Yeah, right.
Wonderful. Doug, thank you so very much for the presentation, and thank you investors again for the feedback and questions. Next up, we want to welcome our next founder, Anders. Are you with us?
Yeah.
All right, Anders, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you, and the stage is now yours. Again, you've got 3 minutes on the clock for your presentation, and then we'll have 1 to 2 minutes for Q&A from our judges. So the time is yours.
Thank you, Kyle. So I'm Anders Harderbrink. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Imagimob, and we're based in Sweden. We help our customers to develop deep learning applications for small devices in less than 1 minute. And the problem we are addressing is that it's so complicated to do this. When you do AI in the cloud, you have basically unlimited resources in terms of processing power, memory, and power. But on the edge device, it's the total opposite. There are basically constraints on everything. And you need expertise. You need someone who understands the domain problem. You need someone to understand the data and how to collect the right data. You need someone who understands which AI algorithm to pick. And you need someone to understand how to put this on an embedded device. So we offer Imagimob AI. It's a business-to-business software as a service solution. And the main benefit for our customers is fast time to market and drastically improved productivity. The software guides and empowers users throughout the process so that they can be more productive. This takes away a lot of boring tasks so that they can focus on the fun part, which is actually solving the problem. We're targeting a very big market. Market reports talk about that the edge AI software is worth $1.2 billion around 2025, and we aim to take a leading position in this market. But of course, we have competitors, and most of them are based in the US. We think we are ahead based on experience. We've done this for 5 years. We've done more than 20 projects with big companies like Scania, Autoliv, Husqvarna, ABB, and FLIR Systems. And we helped other companies to take commercial products to the market. Our business model is very straightforward. It's a subscription-based model. Customers are paying per user and month. And finally, we have a great international team of 17 people. It's a mix of men and women, experience and youth. And we have a total of 2 PhDs on the team. And finally, to wrap up, when you think of Imagimob, it's about edge AI, it's about business to business and software as a service. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Anders. And first question, Ben, to you.
Ben Harrison from NEA. You mentioned this is a SaaS solution done by subscription, and it sounds like you're trying to do it in a WYSIWYG format, sort of push here dummy. But how much, if any, NRE does it take to get set up with a client? You mentioned you've done about 20 projects with some very large clients. What does it take to get them up so they're using the system?
In the SaaS solution now, what we're doing is that we do a 2-hour training, and that has been enough for people to get started.
Well, what's the engine you're running on underneath? I assume you didn't build your own system for deep learning.
The application is built on Windows, and the AI framework, we're basing it on TensorFlow.
Thank you.
Emmerich, to you, I know you have a question as well.
Yeah, sure. I'm kind of curious because with these things, certain applications are better suited for certain environments. Are you seeing similar trends, certain trends amongst your customers? Are these kind of B2B applications, or are you doing things around computer vision? Where are people? What would you say your kind of specialty is?
So far, basically all projects have been about time series data. So we have a lot of exciting projects in radar, where we have do gesture control headphones that we showed at CES in Las Vegas. Yeah, so it's about a lot of interest, a lot of applications around radar.
Wonderful. And Gordon, last question before we welcome up our next founder.
Yeah, so you mentioned the complexity of choosing the right algorithms and technology to solve a certain problem. So how much hand-holding do you provide, or do you really leave it up to your customers to figure it out on their own?
The system actually, so what the user is doing is that they upload data, they annotate the data, set up some parameters, and then the system, our software will actually pick the right algorithms and the right layers to solve the problem. So you can actually be like a domain expert without deep expertise in AI to use the system.
Okay.
Awesome. Anders, thank you so much. Judges, again, thank you for your questions and feedback. Next up, I want to welcome Antonio. Antonio, are you with us?
I am. How you doing?
Doing well, thank you. Antonio, just to let you know, you're going to have 3 minutes to pitch our investors here, and then we'll have 2 minutes for Q&A. I've got the clock started. The floor is yours.
Great. So I'm Antonio Pellegrino, but everyone knows me as Pelly. I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Mutable. And what we're doing is a little bit different. We're creating a public edge cloud on top of existing hardware, and basically allowing the way that Amazon created AWS happened through every other company, where they take all the extra resources that they have in terms of compute. We take over the bare metal, we basically turn that into a cloud and then network it all together. So that way, from a developer's point of view, they're deploying to one place. And in the end, essentially being able to have access to ubiquitous compute with no extra spend on us, no hardware that we own. Everything is owned by and provided by whoever is supplying it. And this is, we already started working with cable companies, with telcos, from Midco to T-Mobile to many others. And in this process, essentially, we're also working with hosting companies and enterprises. So think of it as, hey, you have, you're running Zoom. You're a company that runs Zoom. And in that process, you have to have your servers in all these geolocated locations because that's your business. And there's value for that. But in reality, when does that really run? From 9 to 5 every day. And if that, when's the peak capacity and redundancy of hardware that's already out there into the field today? So if we take over that resources, we now can create a cloud resource that third-party developers think of times during the day that, you know, Disney Plus can use it and so on and so forth to be able to create this public edge cloud to get access to. So essentially, we're taking all this kind of stuff and wrapping it all together so that way you have access to the same kind of global infrastructure times 100 more or less that the big cloud guys have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Antonio. Todd, first question to you.
Yeah, Antonio, so what are you running underneath to sort of manage all of these disparate pieces of hardware, right? You know, you've got compute resources, memory. What do you do
we
to manage
did a few things. One, we use NICs internally. It's this distributed, it's this OS that was created particularly for basically making sure that every piece of binary that's on every single machine is exactly the same, where it's run. So for security purposes and for running on all these different types of hardware, it makes sure that state is exactly the same no matter where you go. And then secondly is we provide to the third-party developers both a VM as well as a Kubernetes API for them to access. In reality, we're doing a lot of stuff underneath the hood, but that's what we're exposing so people can do exactly what they normally do, but on this infinite amount of infrastructure.
Interesting, thanks.
Emmerich, to you.
Yeah, and do you have a way of, are you ranking kind of the different kind of resources made available on the network and to be able to match certain levels of service level agreements? Kind of how are you managing that kind of quality aspect?
Absolutely. So the main thing that we care about, don't get me wrong, as you said, there's many things to rank based off of resources that you need, CPU, GPU, quality of CPU, so on and so forth. But the main parameter that we care about is actually latency. So we actually, instead of using an SDK that you put on a device or something like that, you're using regular BGP. So everywhere that we have a server, that server is announced to the general public so that you always get the closest announcement. And then from there, we can route and spin up applications on demand when and where it's needed. So you're only running what's needed at the time based on network requests versus having everything running everywhere, which would be incredibly uneconomical.
Wonderful. Alana, any further comments or questions for Antonio? Oh, you're on mute.
Really interesting on-demand network in general. How do you ensure the security?
Yeah, so security is a big thing. Think of this exactly like Airbnb for servers, right? And in that concept, there's an idea of trust. And that trust has to be formed from usually a person entering a home or a person giving up their home. So in this case, we're using all the same, if not more, techniques that you'd use on a cloud provider from the isolation point of view that has been perfected for many, many years, bring that on-prem. And then also not just doing it on the hypervisor for virtualization, but also on the network side where we use IP6 prefixing to do hard isolation there. So in every possible way, encryption on rest, encryption in use, so on and so forth, we nailed down how we can. So that way the owners of the server can't even access it. It's really, they only access it through our platform. So
thank you very much, Antonio. That is time. Apologies, but I wanted to got you right at the right spot there. Thank you so much. Next up, we want to welcome our next founder, Suri. Are you there?
Yeah. Are you? Hello.
Hi, Suri. Just real quick, you've got 3 minutes. Hi, welcome.
Right.
You got 3 minutes on the clock, and you'll have 1 to 2 minutes of Q&A from the judges. So the floor is yours.
Great. Hi, everybody. Let me screen share here. Share screen. All right. All right. Okay. Can you see my screen splash?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So hi, hey, I'm Sri Sukhi, founder and CEO of Molecular. We're a distributed AI platform for the edge. We're the founders. I'm a data scientist, and I have a deep background in IT and file systems and distributed systems. Doug Shalin comes from the telco world, and Brian Atwood is our customer success champion. What are we about? So we want to add business value for edge platforms and services. And that's, so all the way to the left here, maximize their revenue from their services, bring about higher levels of operational efficiency, and increase the reliability of service. And this comes from applying IT use cases at the edge. And that includes capacity planning for infrastructure at the edge, balancing workloads, and gauging application resilience. And our technology platform is Maxwell, which is a distributed machine learning platform. So it locally is monitoring and analyzing resource usage data in edge IT without having to send all that data back to the cloud. So its primary outcome is fine-grained forecasts of resource usage. And we use that for capacity planning, placing workloads, and detecting anomalies. The source data that we use is, like I mentioned, right from the IT infrastructure itself, like CPU, memory use, and network and disk, in addition to IoT as well as other hybrid IT metrics. How does Maxwell work? So on the left, you see various sources of data. So including the organic data from the IT infrastructure that we talked about, which is in the categories of historic and runtime ongoing data. There's also local events in each geography and understanding the local calendar and even understanding the local weather. All of this can affect the amount of compute and network use that happens at each geography. So this data is used to learn patterns in our neural network. And then once we have models built of resource usage, then we can forecast resource usage and use that to then identify how much compute capacity is needed at each site and whether there's sufficient resilience for applications. We could also model scenarios where additional load comes in, and we can tell if that can be accommodated. And then using this data, we can either move workloads or put in a purchase order for more hardware for a given site or various actions.
Sri, thank you so much. That is time. I
Okay.
want to make sure you get enough time in with the judges. So Todd, let's start with you. First question for Sri.
Yeah, so it sounds like this could work in a hybrid environment. Is that correct? Both for on-prem infrastructure and cloud?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Ben, to you for your next question.
So I get the model. You're helping me predict my resource load and making sure I'm optimizing for that for both resiliency and theoretically for cost. How do you price that to the end customer? Are you able to take part in some of the value chain, or is it just subscription?
It is a licensing model at this point. So we have talked about a fraction of savings, but that's really hard to quantify because the service, when we're adding value to the top line, that's going to depend on what application's running above us. So we use a monthly subscription license model.
All right, Andrew.
So Sri, it sounds like this is better suited to somebody who's running an in-house network who wants to do more capacity planning and load shifting, as opposed to somebody who is an overlay network. Is that true?
So if you take the use case, if you take examples like Packet or Equinix Metal, right, or infrastructure on top of EDJNET, like you have IT infrastructure. I mean, in-house is a loaded word, right? Like you have IT infrastructure that is actual hardware that's in various places around the world, and the capacity required at each geography, as well as optimizing, making sure the applications are running happily in each of those sites is what we're about. So I don't know if I answered your question.
Awesome. Sri, thank you so much for your presentation. And judges, thank you again for your questions and feedback. Next, I want to welcome Daniel to the stage. Daniel, are you with us?
Hope I am. Hi.
Awesome. Daniel, hi.
Hi.
Hi. Real quick, you're going to have 3 minutes here in just a second to present to all of us. And then we'll go for 1 to 2 minutes with Q&A with each of our judges, okay?
Great.
Wonderful. Daniel, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Daniel Spar is my name. I'm COO for Stream Analyze. Stream Analyze has a small software platform that allows you to build, deploy, and run AI on any asset. AI is shaping the future, not only of business, but our whole world. It's opening up new ways of working, new business models, and ultimately new ways of living. Stream Analyze is shaping that future of AI everywhere. And how are we doing this? Well, we're putting a tool in the hands of the whole organization that allows them to change the way they do business forever. And as AI is becoming more widespread, it needs to become much easier, much faster to implement, because AI is not just for experts and programmers, but we believe that engineers, product managers, and financial managers need to be able to create, deploy, and run AI on the edge on their own. Also, your time and your customer's time is extremely valuable. Therefore, the creation and deployment of AI needs to be quick. Then, and only then, will AI have a true impact on the world as we see it. As we're the only AI platform that actually simultaneously can fit onto any device and asset. We're completely hardware and software agnostic. It allows you to interactively query your assets so you understand how they're being used, how they are doing, and where they're actually at. It also allows you to build and update and deploy your AI to these assets instantaneously, because we do not do firmware updates. We do instantaneous updates onto the actual asset. Tesla is very known for their software updates that they do, which takes an hour or something like that. We can do this instantaneously. But we also provide a tool for engineers, analysts, and product managers and financial managers to build their own AI, rather than just being for programmers, because we come with a high-level tool that allows them to build this very easily and very quickly. And it also allows you to create and deploy any AI model out there. We come with more than 1,000 different mathematical statistical functions out of the box, sort of like Excel on the edge. But we also allow you to use any existing AI models that you might have or want to use. For instance, Google TensorFlow, where fully compiled allows you to deploy that instantaneously as well. And it also allows you to create and deploy what we call cyber-physical financial analytics on the edge. So it allows you from Excel or for an ERP solution to be able to build and deploy directly onto the asset a financial model that runs locally on that asset. For instance, if you're running a forklift and you want to be able to lease that for in a wear and tear fashion, you can actually do that financial analytics on the actual forklift directly, and that is deployed instantaneously as well. Our vision is that we will become the de facto standard for edge AI on assets. We're Stream Analyze, and thank you for my presentation.
Thank you very much, Daniel, with just about 5 seconds to spare. Great timing on that as well. To the judges, Todd, let's start with you for the first question.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. What are you using to orchestrate and manage the deployment of these models to your assets?
Well, we're actually using our own inherent software for this. So we have an instance in the cloud that we install, and we have essentially the same instance that we deploy as a firmware update onto the individual asset. But then we use a connectivity solution that might be whatever connectivity solution that's available. For instance, we're doing this for cars. We're using a 4G solution. You can use something like that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're using everything that you're using is homegrown. You're not relying on anything like Kubernetes or any type of okay.
It's completely homegrown from scratch. That's why we're completely independent on any other software or hardware.
Awesome. Alana, to you.
Anyway, for the model, who owns the model, and can you do transfer learning based on the different forklift, different construction machine on top of it, derive your own models?
Well, the way we do this, we do not build the models. We provide. It's just like when you use Excel. The model that you build in Excel, you own. That's your IP. If you're a CFO, you're building your own financial model. Same here. We provide a platform for you to build your IP, your AI model from scratch on your own. So if you're the owner of the forklifts, you're building a model for you that you can deploy onto your forklifts individually and on your own. But obviously, we could help you, give the pointers on how to use the tool. But it's your model. And this is the empowerment we believe in.
Thank you, Daniel. Gordon, any last questions or feedback for Daniel?
Yes. So you mentioned you're hardware agnostic, and obviously with the width and depth of industry you want to tackle, how are you ensuring the compatibility?
What we do is for each individual customer, we do all we need is a C compiler that's local for that particular hardware. So we create a binary for that particular hardware, and then we help them install that. From there, they actually own that binary moving forward. But we also can support that backwards moving forward based on that individual customer. We're not out there and we'll be able to support all hardware out of the box. We need to do that customization up front. So that's a small little project. It takes usually a day or two to get that up and running.
Outstanding. Thank you, judges, for the questions and feedback. Daniel, thank you very much. We'd like to welcome up thank you. We'd like to welcome up our next founder, Muli. Are you here?
I'm right here.
Wonderful.
Good morning.
So good morning, good afternoon, good day. So just so you know, you're going to have 3 minutes on the clock here in just a moment, and then we'll move to questions and feedback from our judges for 1 or 2 minutes, okay?
That's great.
Rock and roll. The stage is yours.
All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for this wonderful opportunity. Enterprises are dealing with massive data generation disparity. In 2021, 80 zettabytes will come from mobile and IoT devices. Only about 20 zettabytes will come from large data centers. Therefore, the edge computing is not just about computing, but it's about high performance computing. Edge intelligence cannot be achieved by just throwing hardware at the problem. It's going to need a very sophisticated AI HPC orchestration to train models and deploy at the edges. Introducing ZBlock, we deliver the Lego blocks for turnkey AI edge intelligence as composable foundational components. We plug and play on top of edge data centers or enterprise data centers and any basic cloud native orchestration stack in Kubernetes, Docker, network storage, etc. Now, with this platform, the data scientists, data engineers, AI engineers can have GPU accelerated pre-configured environments for creating edge inferences with high performance and scalability. We also introduce AI algorithms into the edge networks through our intelligence marketplace. And we curate algorithms through our academia and startup ecosystems. One such patent pending and exclusively in-licensed algorithm is explainable AI, which is absolutely core to understanding and comprehending data. 84% of the AI projects fail without this first missing step of data comprehension, and with our platform, it's available. We even provide a showroom for users, our customers, to come and experience. It's a 20 tensor petaflops GPU turnkey supercomputing solution in New York State. We are revenue generating at the moment with direct sales to fintech, financial services, and life sciences verticals. And our indirect sales and business strategies via partnerships with tech hardware vendors, cloud service providers, AI, ISVs love to use our platform, data companies and professional companies providing services for AI development. We expect to capture 0.5% of the share of the serviceable addressable market by 2022, which translates to about $43 million. Our business model is on a per seat per month basis for the core orchestration platform, and per seat per month for the additional add-on for the AI software through our intelligence marketplace. And we give 21-day free access to the environment for folks to come and try it out. Our competition does not address AI high-performance computing orchestration. It's a white space out there. And we have a massive advantage because of that. We have tremendous traction. We're trusted by many enterprises at the moment. 100+ data scientists actively use the platform. We've got partnerships with IBM Research, NVIDIA, Fungible, Rural Cloud Initiative, just to name a few. Proven GPU supercomputing workload can be run on our platform. We did that for COVID-19 drug discovery. With a team comprised of serial entrepreneurs, Wall Street veterans, and tech innovators, we believe we should be the edge startup because we have the solution for every other finalist customers. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Great ending. Andy, to you for the first question.
So it sounds like you've built your own orchestration layer and then are populating a bunch of components, both self-developed as well as marketplace components, correct?
Yes, it's a combination. We build upon a lot of open source technologies. Kubernetes, Docker, we use ourselves as well. And then, we've brought them in a unique configuration to be able to support through single workstation, not just a regular, TensorFlow type application, but submit a job, distribute over hundreds of GPUs for calculation, the high performance computing. All that is available through a single orchestration layer.
And so a question, how many third-party components do you have on your platform, and how many have you had to self-develop to populate this to start?
Some of the core orchestration components and some of the capabilities for the deployment, and even one of the algorithms that we are bringing in is called explainable AI, as I mentioned. So we've created a rover workstation and combined that with the data lake capability. So that's all our software that makes it super easy for somebody to move data in, look at 500 variables and figure out what 5 or 10 are sort of moving the outcome in a certain direction. So we've used this in financial services and life sciences.
Ben, to you for one more question.
Sure. You just actually brought up the topic I wanted to hit on, which is your explainable AI. This has been a hot topic for quite a while now. Is that a meaningful part of what customers are buying from you? How?
Absolutely meaningful. So we have two tips of the spear. In some cases, like an edge computing environment or a data center operator, they are interested in the platform story, but a lot of time the enterprises are interested in the other tip of the spear because they have large data sets. And it's a question of, okay, now you want to start an AI project. Now, which way do you go, right? People just understand ingestion very well, so they just jump into that problem. So here we're saying, take a step back, bring the data set, load it up. Let's look at the patterns, correlation, minors, and such, which will help you do better feature extraction, focus on not just improving the overall data quality of things that are missing, but very focused on things that are related to outcome. So we use that tip a lot to sell to the enterprises.
Wonderful. Gentlemen, thank you very much, everybody. Really appreciate the time. We're going to now welcome up our next founder. Murali, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. So just so you know, you're going to have 3 minutes on the clock here in just a moment, with 1 to 2 minutes for Q&A with the judges. The floor is yours, and I've got the timer started.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I'm Murali Goparaju, co-founder, CEO of Amber Flags. As you know, AI on the cloud side has some inherent disadvantages like issues related to latency, reliability, bandwidth, cost, regulatory, and business process issues. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. You're good.
Yeah.
We're just listening.
Yep. Our mission is to AI enable the edge devices like mobiles, wearables, IoT, and other microcontrolled equipment. These devices typically run on low power, low storage, and low compute capable equipment. We bring the intelligence to them. We essentially enable the AI on the consumer and industrial products and software applications. Our business model is B2B. We provide several micro products, each enabling AI at the edge for a specific function. Our target enterprises are from companies in manufacturing, telecommunications, retail, financial services industries. A little bit about our product line. AmberFlex Opus is a collection of micro products that run on edge devices. For example, Opus micro products can sense, analyze, act on the inputs from temperature, vibration, gesture, object recognition, person identification kind of sensory inputs, which are quite useful for anomaly detection, preventive maintenance, assist in security aspects, and self-checkouts and registrations and things like that. AmberFlex Opus dashboard allows you to manage your entire edge devices network from operations and KPI-driven insights point of view. AmberFlex Concerto is another micro product line, the group of products that enable enterprise applications to be integrated AI into the environment. Like Concerto micro products provides integrations between your legacy application, cloud applications, AI engines, edge devices. We have got 3 US granted patents for our technology. 2 more are in the pipeline. I have 30 years of experience in the industry building businesses in enterprise software apps and telecommunications, financial services industries. My co-founder, Raghu, has about 25 years of experience in software services, marketing, and sales operations. Another co-founder, Vinu, has about 12 and a half years of experience in renewable energy sector. All of us have successful track records in building startups and making them companies of significant size. So in a way, we are not a first-timers in the business, but we work for somebody else as a part of an entrepreneur or entrepreneurial activities. Now we are doing it for ourselves. We have completed 2 proof of concept projects for a semiconductor company, and the feedback had been quite positive. It helped us to enhance the product also, and it's essentially targeted towards consumer appliance manufacturers.
All right,
essentially, our technology helps our customers.
Murali, I apologize. We're at time. We're just a minute over there, so or a few seconds over. So with that, Emmerich, I want to come to you for the first question.
Yep. Sorry, on the mute delay. Yeah, I mean, the ideal targets for you, what would that be? What is a kind of customer
ideal targets are consumer electronics companies, the manufacturers, okay, who manufacture products like televisions, refrigerators, microwaves, you know, those kind of consumer appliances, and also industrial appliances. So,
but for like manufacturing reliability
there are all kinds of
analysis,
aspects. One is the manufacturing reliability. The other is operational reliability of the equipment. So if you as a home user of a refrigerator, okay, today if you look at it, it is just a dumb equipment, right? It just provides the service, and if it fails, you have to call up a service station. Whereas with our technology built inside the refrigerator, if there is a problem, it can self-detect the problem and communicate to the manufacturer, so they can send a service engineer to repair proactively. And also things like if you have a Wi-Fi router at home and you're using it for multiple streaming purposes, like for example, somebody at home is on a business call and the other is on a Netflix or somebody is sending emails, depending upon the bandwidth requirements, it can dynamically allocate the bandwidth. Okay, so there are each micro product is a specific single purpose, single focus, AI capable product which helps you to achieve what you want to achieve, and it can be programmed over. So it's like once you install, subsequent upgrades, etc., can be done on the fly. Of course.
Murali, thank you. Thank you so much. We are over time, so I do apologize, judges. We're going to have to hold all additional questions. We do want to welcome up our last and final founder, Angie. Welcome to the stage. You'll have 3 minutes here in just a moment to begin to pitch us all what you are building, and then we will have 1 to 2 minutes afterwards for Q&A. With that, Angie, if you could do a quick sound check, we'll then turn the floor over to you.
Good morning. My name is Angie.
All right, floor is yours.
Good morning. My name is Angie Keeler, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Zella DC. Thank you for this opportunity to present today. Zella DC is a next-generation data center provider disrupting traditional server rooms and enabling the edge. More cost-effective and significantly more flexible, it's a game changer. As a specialist global micro data center manufacturer, we target organizations that will need to process data at the edge of the network. The growth of the Internet of Things, along with the expansion of data created by the increase of connected devices at the edge, has created an increased demand for micro data centers. Companies are actively seeking solutions to now deal with these challenges. Zella DC enables the edge with 3 considerations: efficient, robust, and intelligent. Highly efficient, the Zella DC micro data center reduces operating costs by 30 to 50% compared to a traditional server room. It also increases business flexibility, mobility, and is totally secure. Completely sealed, its resilience to power and environmental fluctuations makes it ideally suited to quiet office environments within the city or metro area, as well as a hot and dusty agriculture farm or mine site. The perfect IT infrastructure housing solution for edge requirements, where a secure and efficient connection to central IT departments and facilities is essential. A standardized, completely self-contained solution that is designed for easy deployment and remote management and monitoring via a centralized platform. Deploying a Zella DC solution maximizes operational independence, but minimizes your IT skills and risks. 10 years of global implementation, the design of the Zella DC is of paramount importance to its function and performance. Its resistance to extreme temperatures and humidity and ability to withstand the consequences of infrastructure failures such as fire, rain, and earthquakes demonstrates corporate and engineering objectives are met. This high level of robustness means the Zella DC allows companies to use IT infrastructure in any location regardless of the environmental conditions. Not only is the Zella DC rugged, secure, and completely self-contained, it runs autonomously and has the ability to be controlled centrally. Incorporating an award-winning DSIM monitoring software that allows close monitoring and efficient utilization of power infrastructure, the Zella DC offers the ability to monitor power, any environmental conditions in real time, mitigating risks of downtime and conserving energy. Zella DC enables the implementation of an edge strategy that is replicable across distributed sites, repeatedly and seamlessly. It is designed to contain and protect customers' equipment no matter the location and environment. Zella DC is the time-proven micro data center solution for edge deployments.
Outstanding. Thank you very much, Angie, for your presentation. Judges, for Q&A, Gordon, let's start with you for the first question.
Well, just first of all, just a quick question. I mean, you mentioned that this hardware has been tested for over 10 years. So what is the relationship with, I mean, what is the background and history of this product vis-a-vis the startup journey of your company?
That's right. We've actually been, within the environment or the micro data center environment for 10 years. That's absolutely right. Being a startup in during that time and continue to still be in the startup phase in terms of the market really reaching the point that it has for us as well. We've been in R&D during that time and really focused on improving the product to reaching where it is today and managing to implement the solution in various parts of the world in so many different environments has really just kept us. And now we're at the point where the market is ready to really receive the product in the go-to-market phase.
Awesome. Todd, quick question.
Yeah, so Angie, how do you guys think about or position yourselves against other sort of ruggedized or hardware manufacturers? Like there's the Edgeline products out there that are meant to run in these same types of environments. What differentiates you guys?
So the thing is, with these, we're a specialized or a specialist micro data center manufacturer. That's all we do, and it's the only thing we do. What differentiates us from our competition is really that the ZLDC can go into any and every single environment. It's completely self-contained, which means that it can stand in an office space right next to people working within a meter of everybody, but it can also then sit within a warehouse. We even have now have started to really work on outdoor opportunities as well.
Wonderful. And last question, Andrew, to you.
So besides for centralized monitoring, are there any other centralized services, any load balancing, any multi micro DC
yes,
functionality?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the whole idea of the ZLDC is to be able to implement a standardized solution across multiple networks, or rather multiple sites, no matter where you are. So you actually have the opportunity to gain access to those sites from a centralized location. Not only are you monitoring, but you actually are able to switch devices on and off. You're able to monitor loads within real time. You're able to because of course they have built-in sensors throughout the ZLDC, both from a physical as well as a software aspect.
Wonderful. And Angie, thank you so much. We're going to take you off stage. And thank you and congratulations to all of our finalists for their presentations today. Here in just a little bit at Edge Computing World 2020 Day 2, we will announce the winner from today's presentations. And judges, again, thank you each for your time today. Make sure to get your scores in, and we'll welcome each of you back later today to participate in the upcoming finalist presentation. But as we do head out here in just a moment, again, a big thank you to our judges, Alana at Intel Capital, Ben of NEA, Todd at Pathfinder Ventures, Andrew of Walden International, Emmerich of HCVC, and Gordon of Radiant Tech Ventures. We greatly appreciate your time, your questions, and your feedback to each and every one of the finalists today. And again, an early congratulations to all of our finalists and participants of the Edge Startup of the Year award later today. And as we continue this great day full of content, we are continuing nonstop. Here we go, going into our next panel. We're going to talk about what it makes a compelling Edge investment. Continuing on the Edge Startup of the Year competition, and shortly after that, we'll announce the winner.